Man, I can't stand seeing my MX650 like this. I've had it partially apart for a couple weeks now, ever since I got a crack fixed on my triple tree, and I just haven't had the energy to put it back together since I've been a little distracted with my 74 volt Talaria XXX project. And this bike's still a little banged up. It's got some cracked plastics from when I last crashed it, but today I'm going to be making some improvements to the setup, and we're also going to be changing the look a little bit. I want to start off by improving the cooling efficiency of my motor. This is still my original Kunray MY1020 brushless motor, which has been very reliable for the last year, running 72 volts and 60 amp continuous. But I noticed under heavy loads, long pulls, especially uphill, my Kelly controller, I hear it beeping sometimes. So I know this thing most likely runs pretty hot, even though I've drilled out all the holes larger on both my end caps. So today I'm also going to be adding a heat sink to the body. But before we can do that, I got to grind down these residual welds from the original bracket so it sits nice and flush on the motor. And here's how it looks. Here's from the bottom side. I've got plenty of clearance between my street tire and the motor since I've got this nice set of Electro & Co swing arm extensions. But keep in mind, if you're running a 3 or 3.5 inch street tire, you will not have the space for this unless you have a swing arm extension. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this Alter Ego hydraulic fork and refinish the triple trees. I just think it's a little bit too much chrome for my liking. So I'm gonna sand these down and then we're gonna paint it with some Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. This stuff's pretty tough and it has a nice clean satin black finish to it. Before you do any sort of spray painting at home, make sure you have a proper respirator that's designed for it to reduce the chances of you inhaling anything toxic. If you're interested in checking out any of the items that we're using for this project, including all the parts, full build list, I'll have everything linked in the description below. And here's what that finish looks like after 24 hours. Nice clean satin. Now let's go put the fork back together. Next up, we're gonna be replacing these grips and this busted throttle. I don't really like the chrome anyway, and this one is pretty dang mangled. I'm just gonna be putting on a set of mountain bike grips and a keyed thumb throttle. The thumb throttle is gonna be a lot more comfortable for long rides. My wrist kind of gets tired with this twist throttle. Yeah, the black definitely looks a lot better. The next thing that I want to focus on are the plastics. I was previously going for a Supermoto look, which is why I have some street tires on there, along with a Honda CRF50 plastic set. But I'm not really liking this anymore, especially with the side panels back here. You'll see that the right side is significantly larger than the left. Obviously, that's because it's meant for an exhaust system, but this bike doesn't have that. So we're going to be deleting these side panels, which likely requires me to trim down this portion of the plastic so it'll look clean. I also want to give this thing a more subtle, maybe naked street bike look to it. So I'm likely not going to run the front plastics anymore. And I also want to change the color to something a little bit more sleek and grabs less attention on my local bike trails. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to this channel. Now let's go attempt to wrap these plastics in some vinyl. Hopefully it turns out well, because I don't really have a lot of experience with this. It is certainly far from perfect, but at least the main surfaces that you can see when it's installed are completely smooth with no wrinkles. Bottom side is pretty ugly though. The second panel turned out pretty decent. No wrinkles on the main surface. This mark over here is actually from the plastic mold. I'm still working on how to get the corners and edges smoother. So right now I still have them all folded up, but luckily this is going to be under the seat and it's not very visible. But for the most part, what's visible looks pretty clean. And here's how the body turned out. I think it looks a lot sleeker this way. It's not perfect, like I can still see this crack through the vinyl, but it's a lot less obvious. I also repaired that with some glue on the back side of the plastic, so it should hold up. But I really love this color. It's like a satin brushed metal finish to it. A lot less loud than the blue before. Let me know what you guys think of this new look. The next thing that I want to focus on is the lighting. I'm going to be replacing this Nightlight LED headlamp that we've had on there for over 1.5 years now to another one from the same brand. This is actually an automotive grade LED floodlight or pod lamp, and it's got more than twice as many LEDs, so it's got a much higher light output at night, and I just think that it suits the look a lot better. Luckily, I've already pre-wired a voltage step-down converter on this bike, so I'm only gonna have to touch this positive and ground wire up here, since I run a lot of 12-volt accessories on this bike, such as the brake lamp. I've got turn signals on there. I've also got a horn, since I ride this thing on the street a lot, and I wanna make sure that it is safe and well visible. I'm sorry, I forgot that I'm completely out of the wire connectors that I need to wrap up the LED headlight install and the throttle. And I also wanted to add a bunch of LED lighting all over the chassis to really make this bike stand out at night. So I will be back in a couple of days with a fully wrapped up bike, and then we're gonna take this thing out. But if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you wanna keep up with this MX650 project or any of my other bikes, consider subscribing to this channel. But this is gonna be it for today. Thank you for watching.